On today's Locked On Jayhawks, we're going to be recapping Saturday's action with KU winning a close one against Iowa State.
You are Locked On Jayhawks, your daily podcast on the Kansas Jayhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Derek Johnson. You can hear me as well on Rock Chalk Sports Talk Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. on KLWN in Lawrence. Thanks for making Locked On Jayhawks your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get any of your podcasts. And on today's edition of the show, we're going to be recapping Kansas's close win over Iowa State in Allen Fieldhouse, top 15 victory for the Jayhawks. We're going to get to our GOATs of the game, and we're going to do a quick look ahead to the Kansas State game because it's a quick turnaround to that and should be a pretty good one for that. But first, today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs, helping you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Kansas takes down Iowa State, a close 2-point victory for the Jayhawks in the end. Or 3-point victory, was it? I don't even remember at this point. You know, all the wins, they feel the same because every game in Allen Fieldhouse is going to come down to the last shot. It is just going to happen. And it's like, well, are they going to make a stop? Are they going to make the shot? That's just what's happening here. So another close one in Allen Fieldhouse. We'll see if KU ever has a game this year at home where they don't have to win off like a last second comeback or of a last second stop or shot. Like, you just win one by 6, just win one by 7. Just pull one away. But Allen Fieldhouse magic continues. And it was funny. You saw KU basketball, their social media account sent out a video from, there was the banquet with the reunion that was happening for KU basketball. And Roy Williams was one of the panelists who was talking up on kind of the desk, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it, the stage. And he was just saying, like, it's just Allen Fieldhouse magic. Like, he was sharing a story of, we just knew, like, in some of those big situations, the other player was just going to, like, miss the shot. Like, that's just Allen Fieldhouse for you. And so another close one at Allen Fieldhouse, but the Allen Fieldhouse magic lives on as Caleb Grail misses the 3 at the end of the game. KU was maybe trying to foul at the end. They didn't foul Grail. It looked like he was trying to sell a foul there, and maybe that caused him to miss the shot. I don't know. But you found a way to win. And now that is one of your best wins of the season. It's a top 15 victory. Like, you look at all of KU's victories, they're, I guess, still kind of searching for that, like, elite of the elite win, which, to be clear, most teams don't really have that. But the depth of wins that KU has is incredibly impressive. And it's kind of splitting hairs. But, like, if you look at, like, KenPom, for instance, so KU lost to Tennessee. They're ranked second in KenPom. KU's highest win, though, is Iowa State, who is 13th. And then it's kind of, like I said, it's splitting hairs a little bit in the sense of, like, you have a bunch of other good wins, like West Virginia's top 25 still on KenPom, Indiana's top 30, Duke is top 30, but Iowa State is for sure your top win if you just look at it on KenPom. You'll have other opportunities. You still play Texas coming up here, and you have other good teams, whoever else emerges from the Big 12. But right now, that is your best win. So certainly important there, but also an incredibly important win, to use that word again. Beyond just it being, hey, it's your best win of the season, it's important because if you're trying to win the Big 12, you have these two other teams who are tied with you for first right now at 4-0 coming in the day. Kansas State loses to TCU, and now you have an opportunity to be in first all by yourself as of the end of the day. Now, how long that'll hold, we'll see coming Tuesday night as you take on Kansas State. But the importance of this was that you got to hold serve at home in these games against these other top opponents, because now if you lose that game and Iowa State's sitting at 5-0 and you're sitting at 4-1 headed into Tuesday night in Manhattan against a really good Kansas State team on the road, and you lose that game, now you're 4-2. Now let's say Iowa State wins their first game this week and they move to 6-0. And at that point, Kansas State is a game better than you, and Iowa State is up 2 games with a win in Allen Fieldhouse. It gets a lot more difficult to navigate through and find a way to win the Big 12. Doesn't mean you still wouldn't be able to do it, but it just would get a lot tougher for the path moving forward from there. So you win the game, you hold serve at home, you keep everybody at bay, and just very important for you to do that against another top-tier opponent. Not really a pretty game. Kansas shot 29% from three. They shot 60% on free throws. You got very much out-muscled on the inside, whether it was giving up like hook shots to Osani or giving up, a bunch of offensive rebounds. Like at one point, I think it was 10-0 Iowa State on the offensive glass. And that helped lead to 12 more Iowa State shot attempts in the game. You had to deal with Gabe Kalsher and Osunniyi, however it's pronounced, going off in that game. Like, not a pretty game, but fortunately it was never one that you did have to have one of those big comebacks, and it's just kind of back and forth all the way through. You were down 3 at the under 8 timeout, but quickly came back from that. And in the end, you did a good job avoiding a huge turnover game. That was something that was key coming into the game. Iowa State number 1 in the country in turnover rate defensively. You did a good job limiting those numbers down. You owned a 6-3 edge the final 10 minutes or so on the offensive glass. Like I said, it was 10-0 at one point. For the last quarter of the game or so, you actually did out-rebound them on the offensive glass, which maybe that was enough to kind of get you over the edge. And certainly there were a few possessions down the stretch where you might have needed an offensive rebound or two that ended up resulting in a score for you. As much as Osuniyi, whatever, I can't pronounce it, is a good shot blocker, and they have good rim protection there. KU did do a good job shooting inside the arc. They obviously struggled missing a bunch of open threes outside of like Gradey Dick, but KU shot 16 of 27 on 2-point shots. That'll very much play, especially against a good defense like Iowa State. And you found a way to win against a very good school who's having a very good season and helped you in an important Big 12 race, as we just kind of discussed. Let's get to our GOATs of the game, and then we'll finish up with a bit of a K-State preview. First, this episode of Locked On Jayhawks is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. As a small business owner or hiring manager, you know that success in 2023 all depends on the team members you surround yourself with. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, experience, and values to help you achieve your goals. LinkedIn Jobs helps you quickly attract qualified candidates to your open jobs with targeting tools. They go beyond resume data by using insights from your job post, company, and their 875 million member profiles to put your post in front of the most qualified candidates. Identify the most qualified candidates on LinkedIn Jobs and connect them fast and for free. They make it super easy to screen and rate applicants based on your job qualifications all in one platform. You want to achieve all your goals here in 2023. We're right at the outstart of the new year. And you know what's going to help you do that? Getting the right team member on board that can push you across the finish line, that can take you to those new goals that maybe you haven't been before. Small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. GOATs of the game. We'll start with the good GOATs. I want to start with, I guess, Gradey Dick. Very obvious one there. 21 points for Gradey Dick, 7 of 13 from the floor, 5 of 9 from 3. He had 5 rebounds as well, had 2 assists, 2 steals for you. And he was in a game that nobody else could shoot threes for Kansas. Like, he was the kind of one saving grace for you from the outside. And he had the foul trouble in the first half. It really felt like in the first half, like Kansas was holding Iowa State at bay. And maybe it kind of felt for a moment there like Kansas was going to have one of those games in Allen Fieldhouse where they didn't have to sweat it out down the stretch. Like maybe they would win by 6 to 8 to 10 points where, the final 2 minutes of the game, it's just like, okay, if you just don't turn the ball over every possession, or you make some free throws, or you make a few stops, like you're going to be more than fine. But then once he got the foul trouble, the game completely changed because he was the one guy hitting shots. He was also creating such a gravity on the outside to open things up for other players. He played really well for you and hit some really important shots. And I think I said this on RCST on Friday. One way to beat a good defense like Iowa State has, just shoot over it. If guys are shooting over the top of it and having good shooting games, then it's kind of tough for the other team. But also for Gradey Dick, he kind of served a nice purpose of being someone you could put in the corner. And against that very feisty, ferocious, and like over helping Iowa State defense, sometimes you can get open shots in the corner. And we saw that for Gradey Dick. And nobody's going to be better on this team than knocking those down, really from any spot on the 3-point line, but especially from the side as Gradey Dick. And he actually missed the first two, both on open looks, where it was like, uh-oh, is this a continuation of him going 1 for 8 last game? And they mentioned in the broadcast, like he's 1 for his last 10. And then he just lit it up from there and was huge for you winning that game. Second good goat, Dajuan Harris. I know he had 0 points. I don't care. He is just such a rock, man. And we already know this. We've talked about Dajuan so much and how valuable he is and everything he does for this team. 0 points, and he impacted the game so much. He also had 6 assists. He had 3 rebounds. He had 2 blocks. He had 1 steal. Played 39 minutes for you. And the importance of that, you're playing an Iowa State team. They're coming in number 1 in the country in turnover rate defensively. They turn over teams at 30% of the time. Almost 1 out of every 3 possessions is a turnover for the Iowa State defense. But for Dajuan in this game, it was like, hey, we need to have ball handlers out there as much as possible. And you saw Bill Self a couple times for short stints of time throw out lineups of Dajuan Harris, Bobby Pettiford, and Joe Yesufu all at once to get maximized ball handling on the floor. You also saw a lot of the 2 ball handler look with Dajuan Harris and Bobby Pettiford out on the floor. And to do that a lot, you needed Dajuan to play a hefty amount of minutes, and he did. He only sat for 1 minute of the game, and he just gave you that good ball handling out there to avoid that high turnover game. Kansas had just 12 turnovers. That's it. I said coming into it, if you have 15 or 16, I think you can live with that. In reality, being that close of a game, if KU had 15, I don't know if they win the game. So you had to have a low turnover number, and they have done an excellent job since the first half of Oklahoma State when they have 11 of them. Since that point on, they've done a really good job hanging on to the basketball, and Dajuan Harris is the biggest reason why. You have a trustworthy guy holding on to the basketball for you the majority of possessions. That's going to lead to low turnover numbers. He's been so critical there. And I think I tweeted this out. Like, Dajuan Harris is an amorphous blob. Whatever you need him to do to win, he does. You need him to score like 14 points like he did against Southern Utah when other players outside of Jalen Wilson aren't getting it going. Boom, he'll do that for you. You need him to hit a bunch of threes like against Texas Tech. They're giving that opening. Boom, he'll do that for you. You need him to have a high volume assist game, or not even assist, just like taking care of the basketball like Iowa State. Boom. You need a game where he does have 10 assists. Boom. He can do that in other games. You need a game where, hey, he's kind of being the game manager, but we've kind of stalled a little bit. Like, can you score a couple possessions for me? Boom. He scores 6 straight points against Indiana. Whatever you need him to do to win the game, he does just that. And this was another perfect example of just that. Good goat for Jalen Wilson minus the 3-point shooting. He had a really tough day, 3-point shooting. Him and Kevin McCullough really struggled from the outside. Did hit the 1-3 in the second half, which was important, but overall, or no, I think actually it was the first half 3 maybe, because the second half one ended up being a 2-point shot because his foot was online. So he goes 16 points. He goes 4 of 8 from 2. He had 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 1 steals. All those numbers sound great. 16, the 11, the 2 assists, the 2 blocks, all of it. 4 of 8 from 2, like that's solid enough, 50%. But unfortunately, just 1 of 6 from 3, which really skews how the final line goes, because then instead of it being 50%, it's now you're 5 of 14 for 16 points. They need him to start being more efficient. And I think that's led to some of these games being too close because the efficiency hasn't been there. And he was super efficient last year in Big 12 play. So it's kind of been an opposite there, but clearly outside of the 3 ball, he was super impactful, and he was efficient enough from 2-point range that if he just hits, if he goes 2 of 6 from 3, it really is a completely different situation, and then it's not a close game down the stretch. So they need him to be efficient enough, like 33% from 3, 50% from the field type of stuff, for him to be at his max and really be helping this team. That's what he was doing early in the season, or in the games where you were like blowing opponents out. It's obviously going to be tougher when you're playing these really difficult Big 12 defenses, but they need the shots to start falling from 3 and the shots to start going for both Jalen and Kevin McCullough moving forward. But outside of that, Jalen was really good in the game. Last good goat here, KJ Adams, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, and 1 steal. And again, every game feels like he adds something new, like the little spin move where he ducks through and then nobody's there and he's able to lay it in. Or how about the eventual like game winner for you where he has the kind of runner through contact to the right. I think it's funny that in your 2 home games the last 2 years over Iowa State, when you need biggest shots of the game, like both years you have National Player of the Year candidates. Last year was Ochai, this year it was Jalen Wilson. Both years you have first round picks outside of your National Player of the Year candidates. Last year is Christian Brown, this year is Gradey Dick. And neither time do you go to either player. Last year it ends up in the hands of Dajuan Harris. He hits kind of the running sweeping hook shot. This year it goes to KJ Adams, who hits the tough one there running to the right. Just kind of funny how that worked out for them, but he just continues to progress so much in what his game has been, and a real offensive threat, honestly, at this point. Like, not shooting the ball from outside of, I don't know, the elbow, but like he has improved so much, and just even the little amounts of offense he's giving you, of just outside, like the, hey, I'm going to pick and roll, catch a lob if they do this, and I'll give a good dunk. Like, he is showing a repertoire, getting his own shot, as you saw kind of on that final shot of the game. Bad goats for the game, Kevin McCullough's shooting. I could probably put Jalen Wilson's 3-point shooting on here too, in addition. And if you combine the two, they went 1 for 11 from 3. That's not going to get it done. You need both those guys to shoot. We talked about it a lot in the preseason. For most of the season, it hasn't really been an issue, but he went 0 for 5 from 3, and there were some ugly ones, like the one that hit the side of the backboard. None of the misses looked super close for McCullough, and they need him to get that shot going. It has not been going so far in Big 12 play. Now, it's funny. It's kind of like the Jalen Wilson thing. If I remove his 3-point shooting, he has 8 points, which, not a lofty number, but 8 points, 5 rebounds on 3 of 3 from 2-point shooting. And we know he's a good defender and is going to impact the game in other ways. It wouldn't have been a bad game. It's just the 3-point shooting when they were, it's one thing if he was, hey, having to chuck up all these threes late in the shot clock. They were like open threes in the corner. And for him, that's important. He needs to start making those for his NBA draft prospects. I did see like Sam Vecini of The Athletic, his recent NBA mock draft had Kevin McCullough going 34. So clearly all the little things he's doing are adding up and showing out well for NBA scouts and some of the people who prognosticate that stuff. And I do think he is going to be an NBA player because of all the things that he can provide, especially on the defensive end of the court. But to really maximize his game and to maximize this Kansas season, they need him to hit more of those open threes moving forward. So maybe it'll happen against Kansas State. He has hit the clutch ones for you, and that does matter. Bobby Pettiford stats is on the bad goat. I don't know that Bobby had a bad game. I think he probably impacted the game positively because of just the ball handling, which we talked about earlier. Okay, you only having 12 turnovers. Big reason why. You have Bobby Pettiford to come out there with Dajuan Harris. That helped. But we haven't had these games in a while. Early in the season, it was like Bobby's going to play a bunch, and you hear about how he's helping the team, but you look at the stat sheet and it's like 2 points, 0 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 1 for 3 from the field, and it's like kind of empty calories on the stats. That was the case for this game. 19 minutes played. 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 shots, 1 assist to 1 turnover in 19 minutes of action. But again, probably an overall net positive with just having the ball handling out on the floor. But back to the kind of empty calorie stuff with that game. Last one in the bad goats, Ernest Udeh and MJ Rice spots in the rotation. Udeh has completely disappeared from the rotation. With the center spot that is still kind of up for grabs as far as the backup center. Like KJ has secured the starting center spot. With MJ Rice, he's just disappeared from the rotation too. Like the past few weeks, maybe we'll see him for 2 minutes in the first half. Outside of that, not really seeing him at all. For both those guys, I don't know if it's a matter of maybe they're still dealing with injury stuff. Like in the case of MJ, he dealt with a lot of that early in the season. If it's just they're not practicing well enough, if they're kind of in the Bill Self doghouse. I don't know the answer to any of those, but it's just not really the case for either of those guys. And a little different than the Remy Martin stuff last year, because even with Remy, it was like, hey, we have a track record on this guy being like an all Pac-12 player. With these guys, they're still freshmen trying to learn their game. So you don't default onto that, to where when Remy was healthy enough to play again, it was like, okay, well, we're still going to try him for 10 minutes a game. And if it works out, even better, and he ends up playing 25 minutes a game, great. With Ernest and MJ, the floor is no, they just don't play at all. And kind of that's what we're seeing right now. All right, we're going to finish things up with a quick Kansas State preview here with Locked On Jayhawks. First, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball and soccer. They've got it all at BetOnline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can find those on BetOnline as well. They're the fastest and easiest way to get your betting information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. You can get in on the Chiefs against the Jaguars. It is minus 8.5. You can get on KUK State when that line comes out. You can get on any of the future action. KU to make a Final Four, KU to win the Big 12, KU to win a national championship. Do it all at BetOnline, where the game starts. Finishing things up here, the quick Kansas State preview. We're going to talk more Kansas State on tomorrow's show. Nick Schwert will be back with us, and we'll be doing some KU basketball talk, KUK State. We got whose stat line is it anyway for tomorrow's show. But Kansas State comes into this one 15-2 overall. They are 4-1 in the Big 12. Metrics don't love them as much as maybe some of the polls like them, but they're still a clear top 30 team in the different metrics. To me, they're like a top 15 to 20 team that has a ceiling that can be higher than that at certain stretches of the game because of the way that they can kind of go off offensively. And a big reason why is Marquise Nowell, who has been over the course of Big 12 play, like playing like one of the best guards and one of the best players in the country. He has been electric so far. And we saw him carve up Kansas in the game in Manhattan, really. I mean, both games. Last year in Allen Fieldhouse, that was a high-scoring game. It just didn't really matter what K-State did offensively because KU scored over 100. But, like, Marquise Nowell, as much as Nigel Pack was just making everything, and that was a big key in last year's game in Manhattan in the first half, Marquise Nowell was setting a lot of it up with just his ability to drive, get into the lane, and kick and get open guys. So it's preventing the penetration of him getting into the lane. That's going to be so important for the Kansas defense in this one. But I think this is probably the two best point guards going at it in the Big 12 with Nowell versus Dajuan Harris. And obviously they get things done very differently. Nowell is very much drive and kick and can score it a lot. Like up until the TCU game was averaging like 30 a game during Big 12 play. Really just hitting like everything from three. Dajuan is more of the patient approach, but is still going to find the right move and the good defender and everything. So this should be a great matchup. And it's been an awesome K-State offense. They rebound offensively really well. They shoot it well. They play really fast. Keontae Johnson, the transfer from Florida, has been fantastic on the wing for them, being able to score from kind of all three levels. And then defensively, they're really good at forcing turnovers. Stop me if you've heard that before. Every Big 12 team ever, it feels like. But they're good at forcing turnovers too. They have struggled in some other areas defensively, especially on the defensive glass. That was something TCU was really able to take advantage of, who gave Kansas State their first loss of the season down in Fort Worth. But, I mean, without a doubt, the Nowell versus Harris matchup is the matchup of the game that's probably going to determine the game. But also Kevin McCullough if he is on Keontae Johnson, which I kind of expect him to, like, can he limit him to an inefficient game? Keontae Johnson might still get 16, 18 points, but if he makes him take a bunch of shots to do it and have some turnovers, or if you do hold him to, 12, 13 points, that would be huge for KU. And then Kansas trying to get an efficient Jalen Wilson game. You need more Gradey Dick shooting. How you deal with the environment in Manhattan. I think Kansas has done a great job dealing with tough road environments so far. Those are all going to be key to this game, but it really does start with the Nowell versus Harris matchup in this first game. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Jayhawks. We're going to be back tomorrow with Nick Schwert for some more KU basketball talk, a little more KU K-State preview. Make sure to subscribe to the show wherever your podcasts are on our YouTube page. You can also hit it at Johnson. If you have any questions, you want anything for the show to talk about. Till tomorrow, have a good one. You can catch me on Rock Chalk Sports Talk later today. Bye.